transformation in education. It's now my pleasure to turn the floor over to your presenter, Mike Priesement, Senior Manager, EDU Product Marketing. Mike, you have the floor.
Great. Thank you so much, Phil. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I'm really excited to speak about digital transformation in education. This is, of course, our monthly webinar series. If this is your first time, welcome. We can't wait to have you back for another session. If you've joined us before, then hopefully you were on our previous one, which is where we covered Adobe Acrobat Sign and Microsoft integrations for education. If you weren't part of that one and that's interest to you, definitely check that out. We have all of these sessions on demand. Next month, we're going to be covering how to get started with Adobe Acrobat Sign. So for those that are interested in learning, how can you really learn the basics? What are the core functionality? How can you get your institution started? Definitely join us for that one. But obviously, we're here today to talk about digital transformation in education. Before getting into it, just a quick poll. I'm really curious to see where everybody is coming from today. Why'd you sign up? What's your role in your organization? So let's take a minute to give everybody a chance to drop in that information, and then we will get started. So I see a lot of IT folks here as expected. That's great. This is what most of today's content is really all about. It's to kind of help you with your mission of digital transformation. See some HR and finance. Leadership is always great. Looking for information on how to use Sign in higher education. So yeah, we're going to have a lot of examples here, and then of course a lot more resources afterwards. If today's session doesn't answer all of your questions, we definitely have a lot of content for that. Give another couple seconds for the poll for everybody to finish up. Okay, great. So let's get into today's main content. So powering digital transformation by going paperless. Now, digital transformation, it's a big word. It's a buzzword. It can mean a lot of different things to different people. It's really around digitizing processes, digitizing paper documents to digital. It's about working with data systems. It's about implementing different systems. It's about the technology in the classroom. It can mean a lot of different things, but when you think about it, digitization is really the foundation of digital transformation. If you have processes that are still manual, that are still paper-based, it's really hard to kick off any big, meaty digital transformation projects. So really that first step of digitization is really foundational to this. If you have a ton of paper floating around, it's really hard to provide great digital experiences in your institution. So going paperless, of course, it matters more now more than ever before. I hate to keep on bringing up, obviously, the pandemic and how that really fast-tracked everything, but it is what it is. And that really forced so many institutions to really figure out how are we adapting to new operating models, which have hybrid workforces, having to provide remote access, contactless experiences. Obviously, because people have all of these really up-leveled experiences of how they digitally interact outside of work, outside of school. They're coming to school, they're coming to the campus, they're coming to the office, and they're expecting those same type of digital experiences. They want anytime access. They want a consumer type digital interaction. They want everything to work seamlessly. So you have really high expectations from all of your stakeholders, whether it's students, faculty, staff, leadership. And then, of course, more and more documents, more and more paper, more and more data is always coming in. There's more to track, more to manage, which means more to keep secure. So it's just really a lot to deal with. And looking at how can I go paperless is obviously a really important thing to help out with this. We conducted late last year, a survey to really figure out how are some of our customers dealing with this? What are they saying? And when they're looking at these new operating models and being service oriented, you can see the stats at the bottom of the slide here that well over the majority are expecting some of their staff to be working remotely permanently, which means you need to always have a great permanent solution for that. 76% say the education industry is becoming more service oriented. 69% said there's a form for literally everything. So really a lot to deal with. And that's where this digital transformation by going paperless plays a huge part. And of course, this trend is only going to continue. Working remotely, the greater need for service orientation, it was important for the previous 12 months, and it's only going to get more and more important in the next 5 years, especially according to those that we've surveyed. So I think it's obvious. The more people are digitally interacting with teachers, with schoolwork, with staff and faculty, you really have 3 key drivers that you need to look at to really make things work better, which is provide easier access to information, focus on operational efficiency, time savings, and really provide greater data accuracy. These are really going to make this digital transformation into going paperless go a lot smoother. So it's time to go paperless. Obviously, that's a big part of why everybody's on today's session. You want to learn more about how can you use e-signatures, how can I go paperless, how can I digitally transform my institution a little bit better. So we have this pretty extensive life cycle, because when you think of going paperless, there's quite a few steps, and there's a lot of different ways you can attack the problem in terms of making things a lot more efficient. So it really starts at the left side here by converting paper to digital. You can use tools like Adobe Scan, which is a simple mobile app to capture content. So whether you have physical forms, student forms, vendor contracts, classroom material, using something like Adobe Scan can let you easily convert it from paper to a digital format, converts it to a PDF, converts it to whatever you want. And then you move on to kind of this more digital workflow where once it's digitized, your staff and teachers, they can then create the documents that are easy to manipulate and edit. They can use a PDF tool like Acrobat to create fillable forms that they can send to students or parents or teachers, anyone that needs to fill out a form, whether it's an internal form, something for the students, something HR related. Again, once you have it as a PDF, there's so much more flexibility. You can combine multiple pages, extract, input data. You can collaborate with others to get the documents finalized. I mean, overall, digital documents, they're just a lot easier to share, a lot easier to comment on, a lot easier to annotate, and then get that information over to others. So it's all about kind of streamlining that whole process. And then, of course, you move over to what are you actually doing with the documents. So and a lot of times you need to get the document signed. So from there, once you've digitized your document, once you've modified it and finalized it, there is when staff, teachers, you can ship forms and documents off to review for signature using a tool like Adobe Acrobat Sign. And of course, because these are all digital, it's much easier for the staff to archive, manage, search for information when it's in this digital form versus sitting in a filing cabinet full of paper. Now, I've mentioned PDFs quite a few times here on this workflow, where there's a PDF, whether it's converting a paper document to a PDF, getting your PDF commented on, getting a PDF signed. You could be using a Word document, you could be using an Excel document, but the fact of the matter is that PDFs are really the vast majority of documents that go through this paperless workflow. So keep that in mind. I'm going to come back to talking a little bit about PDFs in a minute. But those are all the different workflows that a document can go through when you're thinking about going paperless. And this really changes everything. When you think of paper-based workflows, there's still around 80% of your workflows involving paper. And just think of what are all the downsides to that. It's manual and time consuming. It's complex, error prone, because obviously, for example, on a form that someone needs to fill in, if it's a paper form, you can write in whatever answer you want. There's no way to force someone to fill in the right type of information. There's security and compliance risks. And overall, it's a poor experience for whoever's filling it out, whether it's faculty, staff, students, or parents. Remember what I mentioned at the beginning, where people are coming from with these consumer-like expectations, And now coming to school, coming to the campus and having to deal with all this paperwork, it's just kind of sends you back 50 years where what am I doing with all this? Why can't I just click through something? So switching to paperless, of course, there's many, many benefits to it. First of all, it can be automated and integrated. It's simple to manage and track. It's, of course, much more secure and compliant. And it definitely checks off that box for being easy, quick, and a much more consumer-like experience. So a lot of great benefits of why you should do this besides the obvious of saving time and money. Looking at some of the stats, so obviously we've looked at what kind of savings, what kind of benefits do organizations actually get when they go paperless, whether it's using Acrobat to digitize documents or using Sign to get documents electronically signed. So there's a lot of really, really significant impacts here. For example, 30% increase in transaction speed. So that literally means getting a document signed using an e-signature can increase that speed by 30%. Your compliance, the way you're kind of measuring how compliant are you, we've seen 25% improvement, 85% reduction in errors. I think that speaks for itself. I mean, just think of how many times you have to go back and have someone correct information on a form because they didn't fill it out the right way. So 85% reduction in errors. And then you're also saving time and money. So thinking of how can I free up my staff, my administration to do other things. So on a document that needs to be signed, we're seeing an hour and a half of labor hours saved per document. And when you think of postage and printing and all those things to actually get a document sent out and signed by someone physically, you're actually saving $6 per document, which doesn't sound like a lot, but think of how many students, how many forms. You're coming to the thousands, tens of thousands, depending on the size of the organization, or if it's district-wide, it can be even more. So think of the amount of savings just in time and money you can have on that. So why Adobe? So why can we be really the natural partner for this? So I talked a little bit about PDFs. Those are really the broadest type of file format when you're thinking of paperless. There's a lot of different document tools available, but with this prevalence of PDFs and workflows, PDFs being the #1 file format, and in fact, 250 billion PDF files were opened in Adobe products, it's only natural that Adobe can be the one to really have this expertise in understanding how can I best work with PDFs and how can I incorporate different workflows. PDFs, for example, created by Adobe Acrobat, are dynamic and secure. They can be used across systems and tools for easy collaboration. And when you consider how critical PDFs are to the paperless workflow, it seems obvious that there's really no one better suited to help schools go paperless than Adobe. It's just, we have so much experience. We've invented the PDF format. So we have so much expertise around this, so many engineers thinking, how can I improve the experience, where we just bring in all that expertise for you. And you don't have to take it all at once. There are a lot of different ways of thinking about how can I digitally transform, how can I go paperless? And we like to think of it as kind of 3 levels of going into this journey. It's the first point is really just going digital, where you're thinking of how can I convert my paper documents to digital documents? And that's where you would use something like Adobe Scan or any other tool to scan a physical piece of paper and convert it into a digital document like a PDF. And then once you have it in a PDF, what can you do with that? How can you modify a PDF? Can you edit it? Can you turn it into a fillable form? And that's really all about going digital, converting this paper to digital. The next phase of this, as you're kind of progressing through your digital transformation with going paperless, is really staying digital. And staying digital is more about how can I digitize the actual workflows themselves. So I'm doing a lot of things maybe ad hoc and manually by scanning and bringing physical pieces of paper into the system. How can I really digitize a workflow? And that's where things like Acrobat Sign, working together with Microsoft integrations, how can I really make this more scalable? And then really, once you've incorporated all those type of paperless processes into your institution, you can think of yourself at that final stage of being digital, where being digital, you're really doing everything to automate for this true transformation. So you might be using APIs to integrate with different systems to really make things as streamlined and automated as possible. You might be using powerful tools like Microsoft Power Automate, which has a very powerful out-of-the-box integration with Acrobat and Acrobat Sign. You'll see that in a little bit in a demo that we're going to show you. But it's really about how can I make this scalable across the entire school, the entire campus, the entire district even, depending on how far you want to go into being digital. So there's really no limit to what you can do with our document tools. It's really about how far along this journey you want to go. And when you think about where is this relevant for my institution, one of the greatest things about going paperless is something that really impacts every single persona, every type of person or department within your institution. So whether it's on the student-facing side, whether you're a K through 12 school, whether you're a higher ed institution, there's forms every student needs to deal with, whether it's health forms, permission slips, IEP forms, transcripts, financial aid. There's so many documents that students are dealing with, or parents or guardians. And then on the kind of back office, the administration side, think of how many documents you're dealing with in terms of vendor agreements, purchase orders, lease agreements. HR has its own world of documents they need to deal with, employee onboarding, leave of absence, PTO. I mean, the list goes on and on. So there's really no limits to how far you can take this paperless journey. And we have tools, we have resources that really help you discover where you can best use our solutions like Acrobat and Acrobat Sign to really implement this across the school. So I went through a lot really quickly here. One of the key things to remember when I'm getting into this demo now is that 3-stage journey of going digital, being digital, and staying digital, where it's looking at progressively adding more functionality to your paperless journey. So with that, we're going to play a quick demo video that really shows you those 3 stages of the journey and how can you use tools like Adobe Scan, Acrobat, Acrobat Sign to accomplish all these things. So with that, Phil, let me hand it to you. We'll play on the video and then we'll be right back.
Digital transformation at education institutions is a 3-stage journey. You begin by going digital, converting paper processes to digital ones. Then you stay digital by digitizing workflows with others. And the final stage is be digital, automating document processes. Here, we'll show you a few demos that are great examples of how institutions can begin their digital transformation journey, no matter what stage of the process they're at. We'll start by going digital. In this demo, I'll show you how we take something that's on paper and make it not only digital, but editable, fillable, and reusable using Adobe Acrobat. Institutions are trying to move away from paper processes, not only for the environmental impact, but also to save time and hassle of printing and collecting paper. Let's say I'm a faculty member or department administrator, and I have a printed worksheet for students to complete regarding their senior thesis. I don't have the original file, so normally I would need to make paper copies, and students would need to handwrite their responses, which is both time-consuming for them and also time-consuming for me to collect, store, and synthesize all that paper. With the free Adobe Scan app, you can scan anything, a worksheet, a form, a piece of text, even handwritten notes, and make it a PDF using just your phone. Just open the Scan app, point it at your physical page, and take a photo with just a click. Then you rename it and hit save. It's that easy. You've now turned something from paper into pixels and into a searchable, shareable, editable PDF. And you didn't need a scanner, only your smartphone. Now I'm on the Acrobat desktop app on my laptop. I click on Scans, and I see the worksheet I just scanned using Adobe Scan has appeared right here for me to open. It's great that my paper worksheet has become a PDF. But what I really want to do is to make it digitally fillable so students can complete this worksheet and submit it to me without ever printing it. In the Tools tab, or on the right-hand side, I'll click Prepare Form. And Acrobat's Sensei technology senses where the fields are meant to be and will automatically populate them for you. I see here it's missed a couple, but no problem. I can just go up and click on the type of response field I want and add it in. You can also decide if you want the form to have short answer response fields, drop-down menu fields, multi-selection, and more. You can even add a submit button so students can email this right to a teacher or administrator directly from the form in Acrobat. Now that I'm done preparing the form, I can preview the worksheet and see that it looks great. Except the sheet has the old date of May 20th. Luckily, I can edit the text directly in Adobe Acrobat by hitting Edit and changing the date to May 18th. As you can see, Acrobat gives you a lot of tools for easily creating digital documents. This was one example of transforming a paper document into something completely digital and reusable. How can an education institution stay digital? Staying digital is about digitizing your workflows with others, whether that's sharing work, collaborating on documents, getting something signed, or all of the above. In this next demo, I'll show you how to collaborate on a shared document across Acrobat desktop, web, and mobile, and how to work with PDFs within Microsoft 365. Let's say you're a student services administrator working on a course catalog for your university. It can be a tedious process collecting comments on a multi-page document like this one, especially matching up written feedback in an email to the exact text in the file. With annotation in Acrobat, this process is quick and streamlined. You're almost done with this document, but you want to get some feedback on the president's letter and make sure it's good to publish. In Acrobat, I can highlight specific text and drop in comments. Here, I'll write as an example, please review this paragraph. And now I'm going to share this with the university president directly within Acrobat. I'll click Share with Others on the top right and drop in her email and hit Send. The president is away from her desk, but she has the Acrobat mobile app. The Acrobat mobile app is free, but if you log in using your subscription ID, you can do virtually everything that you can do on desktop on mobile. That includes commenting and annotating, organizing, sharing, and more. On her mobile app, the president will see a notification that the course catalog has been shared with her. She can respond to my comment right here. Let's say she writes, "Looks great. Can you drop in the cover page?" And I will automatically get a notification within Acrobat showing me her comment. Acrobat works wherever you need it, with integrations for Microsoft 365, Google, and more. Continuing with completing our course catalog, I want to drop in a nice cover page to the front of my document. I have a brand-approved cover page in Word doc format saved in SharePoint. And I like to combine that with the rest of the course catalog that I've also saved in SharePoint. I can do that directly in the Microsoft environment I'm familiar with, without switching applications, thanks to the Acrobat and Microsoft 365 integration. I'll select both files, right-click, and select Combine Files by Adobe. This will automatically open up a new tab with Acrobat on the web, converting any file formats such as my Word doc, and combining both of my files into one PDF, all in one single step. Now, this course catalog in PDF format can be posted on a website and shared with students.
The last stage of digital transformation for institutions is all about being digital, to automate and streamline document processes, whether it's creating or modifying PDFs, getting documents signed, or combining multiple actions to truly save time, reduce costs, and create digital experiences. In this demo, I'm going to show how Adobe document services centered around Acrobat and Sign are enhanced with Microsoft Power Automate, which makes manual document processes a thing of the past. A great example of a time-consuming manual process is the annual task of renewing the employment contract of institution faculty and staff. For every employee that needs to go through this process, the back office needs to prepare an individualized employment letter or offer letter with the employee's contract details like department, salary, and potentially an optional component like a bonus. Adobe Document Services can solve this in minutes by pulling data from something as simple as an Excel table and populating a Word document template with the data from Excel. Here I have a sample table where each row is an individual employee with their corresponding details like position, department, salary, and if they'll receive a bonus or not. And then I have a Word document that I created. You can see the highlighted words or placeholders where I want the data from Excel to go. And thanks to a simple Adobe document generation add-in to Microsoft Word, all I need to do is highlight the placeholders, select the appropriate tag it identified from Excel, and insert it into the document. Now we just need to automate the process of plugging the data from Excel into the Word template. And along the way, we'll also save the generated document as a PDF and save it automatically to OneDrive or SharePoint. Using Microsoft Power Automate, it's a simple no-code method to build simple or complex automations. And thanks to Acrobat's deep integration with Microsoft, the full scope of Adobe Document Services are available as native connectors in Power Automate. I was able to build this Power Automate flow in a few minutes, where I pointed it to the Excel file with the employee data and the Word document template, and then it automatically replaces those placeholder tags I created earlier with the data from Excel. And then, using the Document Service connector, it generates a PDF from the newly created document, and finally saves each PDF to a SharePoint or OneDrive folder I specify. Here's the SharePoint folder called Offer Letters, which is empty at the moment. Now I'll run the automation, and within seconds, the folder will contain each individual PDF with the customized employment data. Let's take a look at Grady's letter, and you can see it contains all of the relevant info as seen in the Excel table. Let's also look at Diego's letter, and according to the Excel file, he won't be receiving a bonus unfortunately, and thanks to the conditional logic that I added in the template, the entire bonus section is deleted from the letter. Now, automating the creation of the PDF is a huge time saver, but HR still needs to get each document signed by the employee and the department head. Being digital is all about automating full processes for the maximum efficiency, cost savings, and digital experiences. So of course we're going to use Adobe Sign to get these documents signed, but to make this as streamlined as possible, we're going to incorporate Sign into the Power Automate flow to really automate this. First thing we need to do is make a small adjustment to the Word document template and add in some Adobe Sign tags. And of course, the document generation add-on lets us do this with a single click. I'll just click where I want the employee and manager to e-sign and insert the Adobe Sign tag. And because the Word document is saved in OneDrive, Power Automate will automatically use the updated version of the template. All that's left is to add another section in the Power Automate flow with the built-in Adobe Sign connectors, so it uploads each created PDF to Adobe Sign and sends to the relevant recipients, which is also found in that Excel table. I'll run the flow, and it'll save the PDFs to SharePoint or OneDrive like before, but now it also uses Adobe Sign to send the contracts out automatically. Let's jump to Adobe Sign where we can see all 8 of our demo employees have a signed transaction waiting to be completed. So this was just one quick example of how institutions can save countless time and effort while providing a fast and easy digital experience by being digital. With Acrobat and Sign, their deep integrations with Microsoft and Adobe Document Services, the document journey becomes an efficient, effortless process that helps transform the institution so it can focus on its ultimate mission of improving student outcomes. Okay, and we're back. So hopefully that was interesting for everybody. I know that covered a lot of information there, and we'll be more than happy to take you through a custom demo if you reach out to us and let us know what you're interested in seeing. There's a lot we can show you, whether it's how you can use Acrobat Pro to work with PDFs, how you can use Acrobat Sign to get documents signed, how you can set up integrations. So really the sky is the limit. There's a ton of different things there. So we're going to move to the last segment in a couple of minutes here, our Q&A session, where you're free to ask us anything you might be wondering about going paperless, about the products, Acrobat and Acrobat Sign. But just a couple next steps here. We have a lot of great resources available for you afterwards to download. We have things up here. We have links directly on the screen here. We also have our information hub, acrobatforeducation.com, you can go to get a lot of information there. make sure you definitely sign up for next month's webinar session, where we're going to talk much more in depth about using Acrobat Sign, how to get started, how to discover use cases, and how to incorporate those into your organization. And then, of course, if you want more information, custom demos, like I mentioned, contact your account representative and we'll be happy to give you as much information as you need to get you started with this. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Corey, who's going to lead us through the Q&A session here, and we'll see what kind of questions we can answer for you. So, Corey.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. As Mike mentioned, I'm going to run through the Q&A session here for us. You will notice off to the side, some folks are actually posting some questions in there. So as we go through some of those questions, I'll pull out some that we generally see and see if we can get through as many as possible with the time that we have available. So keep posting them in there, and I'll go back and take a look at that as we go through. So Mike, one of the first questions that we tend to get here that's come through is around Adobe Acrobat Pro DC and Adobe Sign. So there's a few times that we're asked if those are separate products, the same products, and I guess it's sort of a two-part question that's coming through. What would be the differences between Sign versus Acrobat if that's the case?
Yeah, it's a great question. So first, you might have seen recently we changed the name for our electronic signature product. It used to be called Adobe Sign. We recently renamed it to Adobe Acrobat Sign. And the reason for that is because we really want the two to be tied together very closely because of just the workflows when you're using Acrobat. But they are, so there's two answers. They're two separate products, but then also the e-signature technology that's available in Acrobat Pro is powered by Acrobat Sign. So there's Acrobat Pro, which is our PDF tool, which also depending on how you have it configured, you might have some e-signature tools available inside of Acrobat Pro, which is powered by our standalone solution. And then the standalone solution is called Adobe Acrobat Sign, formerly known as just Adobe Sign. So two separate products. One powers the technology of e-signatures in Acrobat, and Acrobat Sign itself has much more advanced e-signature capabilities and workflow and administrative capabilities than you can get with Acrobat Pro itself.
Fantastic. And sort of a third question that comes through on that is just the additional, is there an additional cost for Adobe Sign functionality and what that would encompass? So I can touch on that as well. So I don't know, Mike, do you want to take a first stab at that, and I can follow up on some of the details?
Yeah, no, why don't you go for it? There is an additional cost for using the standalone solution Acrobat Sign, but Corey, I'll let you talk through that one.
Most definitely. So a lot of times when we get together with the organization, whether it's high ed organizations or K-12s or beyond, we really like to understand the use cases within the organization. So there is an additional price or cost, if you will, for Adobe Sign. We do have a couple different versions of it, whether it's Adobe Sign for Business or Adobe Sign for Enterprise. And there's a couple ways that we can approach it, whether it's a named user model or what we call a transaction model. And so in a discussion with our customer base, we just like to understand the workflow processes and what the ultimate goals and strategic initiatives might be for the organization to make the right suggestion on the model that would work best for those needs today, and then, basically long-term growth of going digital across the board. Okay. Here comes a question here that came through discussing Google Forms. So we talked about on the demo Microsoft Forms being used, and the question is, they use the Google Forms to create a spreadsheet for the responses. Is that available with Adobe Forms? Might need to clarify that a little bit, Mike, but do you want to?
Yeah, no, I think I know what they're asking. So there's actually a couple really good ways to go about this. So collecting information on an electronic document using Acrobat Sign. So afterwards, you can definitely export the responses. So it'll spit out a CV file. So each form field within the document will have its own name, and you can customize the names. Then when you export the responses, so it'll have it matched up to the names of the forms, and then you can do something with that. Or another thing is, because we have these really tight integrations with Microsoft, you can connect an Acrobat Sign web form to a SharePoint list. And anytime someone fills it out, it will automatically add that information to the SharePoint list. So almost in real time, as people are filling out, it's creating this spreadsheet of the responses. So there's a lot to do. And then you can even go further with a lot more customized workflows, whether you're using Power Automate or you're exporting it from that received list. So there's a lot we can do. Definitely talk to us and we can figure out the best way. But there is definitely flexibility where you can use this rather than using a Google form, because Google Forms, you can't get those electronically signed. There's not much security on it compared to what you can do with Acrobat Sign.
Okay, fantastic. So there's a question coming through talking about, do you need to download all the Adobe apps? So I'm assuming that's back to the demonstration there where we showed Scan, PDF, Acrobat, and Sign itself.
Yep, probably. So no, the great answer is no. You actually don't have to download anything these days. So in the demo, we showed Acrobat on desktop, but Acrobat Pro, or really any version of Acrobat, whether it's the free Acrobat Pro standard, it all has a web-based version of the app that gives you full functionality. So you just have to log into it to access all of the PDF capabilities. Acrobat Sign itself actually doesn't even have a desktop app. That's all based out of the web. And then as the recipient of a document that needs to sign something, so if you're a parent or a student or a faculty and you need to sign something that someone sent you, you don't need to download anything. You're just clicking a link that you're getting through the email, and you don't even need to have a user account set up as the person signing it. You're really just clicking the link, and then it's taking you straight into the information to fill out and sign. So no downloads needed. But on the other hand, if you do want to download the different apps, for example, if you're a Creative Cloud All Apps subscriber where you have access to all of our apps, so you have a really easy jumping off point that you can install on your computer to quickly download and access all the different apps. So no, you don't need any of the apps to do the things that we showed you today, or you can download things like Acrobat on desktop to have a little bit more control over it, although you have the full functionality through the web.
Most definitely. And a couple more questions coming through, which I'll ask as well. But just to sort of tie into that discussion point on the mobile compatibility for signers. So I think that it comes up quite a bit with discussions where sometimes parents only have cell phones to complete digital transactions. So we did see in the demo that was used. But if you want to tie in on that as well, Mike, talking about
definitely.
the parent experience.
Yeah, we obviously try to make everything as mobile friendly as possible, because we have, especially as new students are coming through the world, a lot of them don't even have computers. Everything they do is just on their phone or a tablet. So everything, any type of experience we want them to have needs to be tuned for a mobile phone. So whether it's filling out a document or signing the documents, can be completely done on the phone. They don't need to download any extra app to do it. And then we also have mobile apps themselves if you're an actual user of it. So for example, Adobe Scan, it's a mobile app that's free to download and use to scan documents. Acrobat has a mobile app as well. And speaking of Acrobat on mobile, we actually have a super powerful feature called Liquid Mode, which basically means when you're opening up a PDF that was formatted for the big screen for a computer monitor, it's normally pretty hard to read on your phone because you have to kind of pinch and zoom to kind of read the text. So Liquid Mode basically reflows that document, and using kind of AI, it reinterprets the document on a phone, if you're using the Acrobat mobile app, to make it a native mobile kind of reading experience, even if that PDF was normally created for a regular full screen monitor. So there's a lot of things you can do on mobile, whether or not you're downloading an app, everything is fully compatible with it.
Great. So there's a question here regarding bulk sending and workflows, basically asking if there's any intention to combine the functionality of bulk send and workflows in Adobe Sign, or is the Power Automate process that we were just seeing in the demonstration the only way to approach those situations? in the sense of requiring mass sendings of documents that require multiple signatures.
Yeah.
It's a long question, but yeah.
Yeah, and that is definitely quite the power user question. So,
Yeah.
so the person asking that, so you probably are aware of some of the limitations of using workflows with bulk send. So at the time being, so for those that are a little bit less familiar, so in Acrobat Sign, we have a feature called bulk send, which basically lets you take a single document and upload a list of recipients and basically sends a copy of that document to each one. So for example, think of a permission slip that needs to be sent out to each student and their parent or guardian to sign. So it sends it out to each person, and then it tracks each individual response. We have another feature in Acrobat Sign called Workflow Designer that lets you pre-program this flow, which can be as simple or as complex as you want, where you can include multiple people that need to sign it with different types of notifications. The limitation to workflow is we can't use the Workflow Designer to program a workflow with the bulk send feature, which would send it out to multiple recipients. So in terms of the native Acrobat Sign solution, we don't have that coming soon, but we do have probably even a more powerful way, which is using Microsoft Power Automate to build these workflows within Power Automate, and then that can also replicate the bulk send, the sending one-to-many approach. So to answer the question, Power Automate right now is the best way to do it. In the future, we might have more enhancements to workflow, but Power Automate really lets you do so much. And we kind of see with our partnership with Microsoft that a lot of times using Power Automate even gives you more flexibility and faster to do it rather than adding these features directly into the Acrobat Sign app itself.
Great, thank you. And there was a question that came through. So they're considering using workflows for submission of parent queries. They would like to be able to sign off and respond back to the applicants that they are cleared and make sure building secretaries are notified. Could this be further explained?
Let me read through that question again just to make sure I understand it.
Yeah, I was trying to read through that as well.
I think for that question, I would like to talk to the person just to kind of better understand exactly what they're looking to accomplish. I mean, from what I can understand, there's looking for a little bit of back and forth between having the document fully signed off, and there's a lot we can do with that. Why don't we have that person reach out to their account rep, and we can take that as a side conversation.
Most definitely, yes. Not to call anybody out, but Lisa, I will respond back to you here with my email address. So if you would like to send that over to me, I can connect you with the account team and we can discuss further if that works. You're welcome. Okay. Some other questions coming in. Let's see. Can you have a form where a signer is assigned based on a selection of a field?
Yes, you can. And that one, so we call that one kind of conditional routing, where depending on how someone responds to, apologize for the background noise in my room here. Depending on how someone responds to a specific question or field within a document, then it would know to send it to a different department. So a pretty common example of this is a purchase order. So maybe if the value of an item someone needs to purchase is over a certain amount, then you need someone more senior to sign off on that request. So again, I'm going to go to our Microsoft Power Automate example, where that really helps us to add a lot of advanced functionality. We actually have a lot of demos even available to share with the person that asked that if you'd like to see. But with Power Automate, and because it has these built-in connectors to Acrobat Sign, that's where Power Automate can then kind of get a response of the field, and then based on that you can build in the logic of, okay, if this field equals this, then we're going to send it to this person, and if it equals this, we're going to send it to somebody else, or maybe it doesn't need to go to anybody depending on the value. So it is definitely something we can do with Microsoft and Acrobat Sign. And you'll see I talk about Microsoft a lot because we have this really tight partnership with them, just because we know so many of our education customers are using Microsoft throughout, whether it's across the entire institution or if it's just in the back office for faculty and staff. We just know so many are using Microsoft, and we know that there's so much you can do to kind of increase your ROI, your investment of using Microsoft with Adobe tools to kind of get the best of both of them.
Fantastic. And another question coming through, Mike, where they're talking about going digital across the board is something to work towards, basically. But at this time, they may have just one form that needs to be sent out, where maybe a different department head needs to initial or sign that document. Can they do that with just Acrobat Pro versus Adobe Sign?
I would say it depends on how you have Acrobat Pro configured in your organization. Some of our customers have the e-signature features turned off in Acrobat Pro, so we'd have to take a look at that, just because sometimes you want to have a little bit more control over it. If your e-signature features in Acrobat are available, then yeah, you can definitely use Acrobat for just a very simple situation to get your feet wet and get documents signed and then kind of prove that it works, and then expand it to using bigger tools like Acrobat Sign standalone itself. So yeah, that's definitely one way. And again, reach out to your Adobe representative and we can help see what you have available to and how we can help you out even more with that.
Fantastic. So we are pushing about 10 minutes to the top of the hour. We'll just, there's a couple more questions coming in, and then we'll go ahead and maybe give a couple minutes back to folks. We just get another question. There's a couple questions here, but one just came in specifically around Google. So to what you were saying, talking a lot about Adobe and Microsoft partnership, they're asking about integrations with Google and if that's available as well.
Yeah, there's actually, so on the Google side, we actually have a lot of Google integrations, more on the Acrobat side, less of the e-signature side. So for example, there's a very powerful Acrobat integration with Google Chrome, where you can get all of the power of Acrobat with its PDF capabilities in Chrome as kind of the default PDF tool by installing the Chrome the Chrome add-on. And then we also have integrations with Google Classroom for Creative Cloud, for example, less with the Acrobat side, but there's definitely things we can do. I mean, I will say that there's more you can do with Microsoft just because of more kind of from an IT point of view, but we definitely have things we can help with Google as well. And we'll be more than happy to kind of help uncover those for you.
Fantastic. So it looks like that might be, I think we covered most of the questions that are out there. If there are additional questions, we'll probably just hang out here for a few minutes. We can certainly answer them through the chat question pod there, folks that are still kind of kicking around if there's any questions asked. We have posted on there some of our email addresses. So if you do want to email those questions over to us, please do that as well. And we can connect you with the account team, myself or somebody else that can connect with you and discuss some of the use cases for your particular organization as well. With that being said, we're about 9 to the top of the hour. I will hand it back over to Phil and team. And if there's any, like I said, any last minute questions, please post them and we'll address them as they come through.